I believe Trump right now is in the middle of the biggest political crisis of his life. And that's because he's been in plenty of political hot water in the past, but this time it's personal. This time it's with his base, and he is in some hot water. Here's a tweet. I still call it tweet because he calls it truth. And how can I call something that's so filled with non-truths truth? So I'm not going to call this a truth. This is a tweet in my book from his own site, though, not from the original tweeting site, Twitter. He posted this just a few hours ago, and you know how you can tell he's desperate? I believe he's feeling the desperation. I know he knows well enough to know that he's in hot water. He may have had a tin air the other day. He may have lost the plot a little bit the other day when at his cabinet meeting, his publicized cabinet meeting, he said when Bondi was asked about Jeffrey Epstein, he said, "Are y'all still talking about Jeffrey Epstein, that creep?" Uh, the minute I heard that, I knew it's over. This is huge. This is going to be big. But it has erupted and become way bigger than I imagined and way faster too. This thing is spreading like wildfire across MAGA world. And, I'll get to his tweet in just a minute. But you know how when you're, say, dating somebody, and male or female, and you've started to suspect they're lying to you, and then one day you catch them red-handed in a lie that they can't get out of. Then, you know how it is? Anything they say after that, it just goes downhill. They can't say anything right after that. No matter what they say, you're not going to believe them, or you're going to think they're saying it with some kind of evil intent. And it always makes the situation worse when they try to explain and make excuses and say, please listen to me, please. I didn't mean it. I didn't mean it. This is basically what this tweet is from Trump today, a few hours ago. Check this out. And literally one of the longest ones I've ever seen. He starts off trying to sound casual. Yeah, he starts off very casual, very informal. What's going on with my boys? And in some cases, gals. They're all going after Attorney General Pam Bondi, who's doing an all caps fantastic job. We're on one team, MAGA, and I don't like what's happening. We have a perfect, an all caps perfect administration. All caps, the talk of the world. Perfect. Are you kidding me? But who talks like this? It's just like talking like a child, like a 5-year-old. Oh, look, I built a castle. It's perfect. Look, it's perfect, Mama. Look, so perfect. The talk of the town. And okay, get this. So we're on one team, we're on the MAGA team, and I don't like what's happening. We have a perfect administration. And get this, red underline. And selfish people are trying to hurt it. Selfish people are trying to hurt it all over a guy who never dies, Jeffrey Epstein. You know who those selfish people are he's talking about? And they'll know who they are. He's talking about his base. He's talking about his supporters. And he's calling them selfish. He's calling them selfish. And that's supposed to make things better? I'm telling you, what I've seen in the last few days, every time he talks, they're like, no, no, lie, lie, lie. Like they're seeing all the lies now. And they're going to see the insults. They're going to be super offended by all this. Then he goes on in his typical style. For years, it's Epstein over and over again. Why are we giving him publicity? Why are we giving publicity to the files written by Obama, crooked Hillary, Comey Brennan, and the losers and criminals of the Biden administration? So you see what he's setting the stage for. He's laying the groundwork to blame Biden for this and to blame Obama and Hillary and people who haven't been in office for 20 years. They're all going to get blamed. But yeah, they're laying the groundwork to blame Biden. They're going to say, "Oh, you know, we opened the files and there was nothing there. Uh, I get we don't know what the Biden administration did with them." And suddenly, all his supporters will probably fall into line and be like, "Oh yeah, the Biden people must have destroyed the files." Of course, that makes perfect sense. Why? But why would they destroy the files that they? These files were supposed to incriminate Trump. Why would they destroy the files that they could use to destroy Trump? That doesn't make any sense either. But that's what they're trying to lay the groundwork for, and it ain't going to work. Believe me, I've seen these people start to see through them in recent days, and they are going to see straight through this. That's not going to work. All right, back down to the part in red. He said, I'm not going to read all that. Why? I mean, this is what he says every time. Like we hear that we've heard this thousands of times. Anyway, down here, he says, why didn't these radical left lunatics release the Epstein files? Yeah, why didn't they? If there was anything in there that could have hurt the MAGA movement, why didn't they use it? Well, why didn't they go after Trump more aggressively about all the laws he had broken? Why didn't they go after him more aggressively about the top secret files and the classified files that he had at Mar-a-Lago? I don't know why. But they honestly, I think Biden didn't want to push it that hard because he understood half the country loves this guy, and I don't want to cause a civil war. And I think he understood this could cause a civil war. So his Justice Department went very slowly. And in the end, there wasn't enough time. So he got off. So probably the same thing happened here. Maybe they had those files and they didn't release them because of that. Or maybe there were other reasons. I don't know. Maybe they had nefarious reasons for not releasing them. Maybe there were a lot of Democrats in the files too. But here's the bottom line is Dan Bongino came out a few weeks ago and said, you know what? I believe there was incriminating evidence in these files. Now I'm the deputy director of the FBI and I've seen the files and there's nothing there. So Epstein was not murdered and there's no client list. That's what he said. So how can they go from that, from him trusting those files and suddenly pin it on Biden and say, oh, you know what? Actually, it must be that the files were stolen by Biden. That doesn't make any sense. He would have said that a couple of weeks ago. So, it's like your mama taught you when you were a little baby. When you start to lie, it's all going to come crashing down because in the end, you're not going to be able to keep up with all the lies. And that's what's happening right now as we speak. And it's kind of, I have to say, it's entertaining to watch. All right, last part of this down at the bottom. Thugs and criminals. Instead of spending month after month looking at nothing but the same old radical left inspired documents on Jeffrey Epstein, let Pam Bondi do her job. She's great. The 2020 election was rigged and stolen, and they tried to do the same thing in 2024. That's what she's looking into. It kind of reminds me of this a little. Yeah, if you shouldn't talk about Jeffrey Epstein because it's been going on for a long time, why is he still bringing up all these old things from the past? It's enough. It's unbelievable, right? Unbelievable. Anyway, I'm going to play for you some clips from Turning Point USA and their 2025 College Summit in Florida this week, just in the last couple of days, to give you an idea of what MAGA is saying now and where they're at and what they're thinking and what they're feeling. It's pretty funny stuff. Here's Laura Ingram from Turning Point USA 2025 Student Action Summit.
There's a lot while all this good stuff is happening. There is a lot, and we're not gonna like everything. There's a lot that's kind of bubbling under the surface, and I know you know what I'm talking about. So I'm going to ask a few questions to all of you. How many of you are satisfied? You can clap. Satisfied with the results of the Epstein investigation? Clap.
No clapping. Ooh.
So I was going to get to that. How many of you are not satisfied with the results of the investigation?
Yeah, you see, this is mega MAGA land where they are in Florida for this college summit, the Student Action Summit. Everybody in the room, 7,000 students there, all of them cheering to get these files released and booing. saying they're not satisfied with what's happened so far. This is bad for the president. And that's why he put out this long, defensive, pathetic sounding tweet.
Release the Epstein files, am I right? Yeah. Had to do it. Sorry. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a backfire of biblical proportions.
All right? In the room of 7,000 students, MAGA students, he's calling this a backfire of biblical proportions. It's a pretty big deal. It's a big deal to them. You know, the funny thing to me is this is the biggest deal so far for them in this entire administration. They're more upset about this than anything else. They're more upset about this than they are about our government picking up American citizens who are here legally because they're citizens, who've committed no crime, and sending them to what could amount to a life sentence at a concentration camp in El Salvador. They're not upset by that at all. They cheer that. That's okay with them. But man, lose the Epstein files and you got trouble on your hand. Big, big, big trouble. And that's what we got. Now, this is Megyn Kelly with Charlie Kirk being interviewed. She had a lot of interesting things to say. Watch how she tries to twist the story to take the blame off of Trump, and listen who she pins the blame on eventually.
No, we all have busy lives, and President Trump has a busy life, and I don't think he realizes how much she's humiliated the administration. This is a self-inflicted wound. She caused it. Again, I have nothing against Pam Bondi, but if you want to look for the villain in this story, we have found her. I mean, she is the person who's she's either lying now or she was lying then. There's no two ways about it.
She is such a good propagandist. She could work in the Soviet Union any day of the week. She totally exonerates Trump. You know, he's so busy. He doesn't have time to look into all these things. But this is Pam Bondi's fault. He just doesn't know about it because he's too busy doing important things for the nation. Wow.
Pam Bondi has one trait, and I think it's why Trump chose her. She's loyal to the president. And I get it. He does need somebody loyal, especially in that position.
All right, two interesting things there. One, she admits that he hires people for loyalty, not for skill, not for talent, not for expertise, and certainly not for experience. So she admits he hires people for loyalty, and then she says, I get it. He needs someone in that position who's loyal to him. She's an attorney. She knows better. If Biden did this, she would be all over him for hiring people out of loyalty. She knows better. She is saying that Trump needs an attorney general who's loyal to him over all else, loyal to him above the Constitution, loyal to him above loyalty to our nation's laws. Why would a president need someone who's more loyal to him than they are to the Constitution or a nation's laws? Why would a president need an attorney general like that? Well, there's only one reason I can think of, and that's because the president's up to no good. He's going to be breaking laws left and right, and he needs an attorney general who's willing to protect him. That's why. Come on, Megyn, you know better.
Can you please tell people the breaking news? According to reports that you have verified, Kash Patel and Dan Bongino will resign if what does not happen?
If she doesn't go. My reporting is Bongino, it's Bongino or Bondi. He's not
Who
saying,
would you guys prefer, Bongino or Bonnie?
Yeah, I don't know why they're doing this, but they are setting Pam Bondi up for a big fall. They all want her to go. They got the crowd wanting her to go, and they got the knives out for Pam Bondi. This is unbelievable, unbelievable.
we could have a situation where they open the files and Dan and Kash stand there and say, I don't know what was taken out of here before we got here. You know, it's possible that those files are rather disappointing and they're not to blame.
That's what they're setting the groundwork for. They're going to say, oh, the files are empty. There's nothing there. I wonder who took them. We know they were there. They were there in 2017 when we were in office last time, but now they're gone. We don't know who took them. It must be somebody in the Obama or somebody in the Biden administration. Maybe Obama was influencing Biden from behind the scenes and told him to take it out of the files. What does Obama care? Obama's never been charged for doing anything like this, with women and all that. Not like Trump. Not like Trump. Anyway, the knives are out for Pam Bondi from this segment of the MAGAverse. And we'll see. I see a lot of people on the other side who are just angry at Trump. They are pinning the blame on Trump. We'll see where it falls out. Anyway, I thought you might enjoy getting a little glimpse into MAGA land and how they're thinking these days. It's going to be fun to watch what happens. But if Pam Bondi gets kicked out, hey, great. She shouldn't have been there in the first place. That's my opinion. All right, take care. Thanks for watching. See you next time.